Hello friends. Welcome back to our channel. This is your host. Today we are going to talk about risk assessment, which is a very important unit in our bachelor's degree in health and safety. So if you are studying this course, then this video will be very much helpful for you because here we are going to explain everything about risk assessment in a very simple and easy language so that everybody can understand it very easily. So friends, risk assessment means the overall process of identifying the existing or potential hazards in the workplace and analyzing and evaluating the risks arising from those hazards. Simply, we can say that risk assessment is basically a systematic way of identifying the tasks, the jobs, or the activities that are hazardous or dangerous, and to what extent these are hazardous or dangerous. This simply means that if we do a risk assessment properly, then we will be able to identify the hazards and the risks, and then we would be able to control the hazards and the risks to a great extent. So this is all about risk assessment. Very, very important unit. And the main objective of this unit is to help you understand the principles of risk assessment and to enable you to carry out risk assessments in different work environments. So friends, let's start with the risk assessment. First of all, the first step in risk assessment is identifying the hazard. Now you may ask me, what is hazard? So a hazard is anything that could potentially cause harm. For example, if we are working at heights, then obviously the work at heights itself is the hazard because it could potentially cause harm. Another example, if we are handling loads manually, then loads manually, the loads itself, the weights are the hazards. The next step is identifying the source of the hazard. So for example, if the hazard is work at height, then the source of the hazard could be the work equipment that is provided to us. Maybe the work equipment is not suitable, or maybe the work equipment is not properly maintained. So this is how we identify the source of the hazard. After that, we have to identify the high-risk activities. So every task or every job has some or the other risk associated with it. So we need to identify the high-risk activities. For example, if we are working with chemicals, then obviously handling the chemicals is the high-risk activity. And if we are using mechanical equipment, then operating or working with the mechanical equipment is the high-risk activity. The next step is to identify the person who is at risk. So whenever there is a hazard, there should be a person who is at risk. So for example, if a chemical is spilled or there is a fire or an accident, then who is going to get affected by this? It could be our coworkers, it could be our supervisors, it could be ourselves. So we need to identify the persons who are at risk. Then comes the step of identifying the risk. So risk is the combination of the likelihood and the severity of the hazard. So when we combine the likelihood and the severity of the hazard, then we get the risk. And here you need to remember that every hazard does not necessarily represent a risk. Only those hazards represent a risk which have the potential to cause harm. If a hazard cannot cause harm, then it is not a risk. The next step is identifying the existing control measures. So when we start our task or when we start our job, there should be some control measures that can control or minimize the risks. And the existing control measures could be the safe system of work procedures, safe work instructions, the PPEs that we are using, the warning signs, the safety devices. So these are the existing control measures that we need to identify. After that, we have to evaluate the control measures to see whether the control measures that we have identified are adequate or not. So if the control measures are adequate, then obviously we need not to do anything. But if the control measures are not adequate, then we have to take some more control measures to minimize the risks to a great extent. And the last step in risk assessment is recording and reviewing. So after assessing the risk, after identifying the hazards, and after taking the control measures, we need to record them and review them. The review of the risk assessment should involve the employees or the workers or the supervisors because they are the persons who are directly involved in the job. So friends, these were the steps of risk assessment. Now you need to remember that risk assessment is carried out for every task, every job, every activity, and it should be reviewed periodically or whenever there is a change in the work environment. So friends, this was all about risk assessment. We hope you have got a good understanding about risk assessment. And if you like this video, then do hit the like button, do share this video with your friends, and also subscribe to our channel and support us. Thank you very much.